if we roll our own ads out, it makes it so that when people go to jump in, that they can just get in. They don't have to watch pre-roll ads.
Nice. Oh.
All right, I'm in, but
Yes, you
nice.
are. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to do it from my phone. My Safari wasn't accepting the address on my laptop, but
Those darn
is there
Apple.
is there a way to? I don't see myself. Am I on video now?
Yeah, you should.
Okay, so
be
on
able
the
to
phone.
Yep, I think I've got it here.
There we go.
There we are.
Yep.
All right.
How you doing, sir?
Sorry about that, guys.
You're good, man.
No apologies, man. It's Sunday morning.
Bro, you'll see how chill our podcast is, man.
Nice.
So,
That's my preferred.
Oh yeah,
preferred mode.
Yeah, of course. No, we're not going to talk politics. We're not going to talk university. We're not going to talk.
I can do anything. So let's roll.
All right, Borland, I really appreciate it. Let me get this fixed. All right, cool. Yeah, man. We really appreciate your willingness to hop on. All right, let's check the sound. I was just telling RJ that you're the one who kind of got that for me.
Oh yeah. It's been some time.
Yeah. Sound good, RJ?
Yep, sounds good. How you doing? You haven't been surviving pretty decent through the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been a hectic. I moved, so I was in LA and did a project in my hometown of Dayton, Ohio. It was due back in LA, but the way things are, and I'd always thought Madison was going to be home base at some point. In the fall of 2020, I came to Madison, and so I've been getting settled here.
Man,
we will get into that.
That's crazy. Moving across country in the pandemic.
Well, I got kind of stranded. So I was doing a short. It was going to be a documentary. It's become a short film in Dayton.
Hold on. Let's share this. Let's share this on the episode.
Right. I thought we were live. We were live.
Wait, no, come on, let's go.
We haven't started recording yet. We're just checking the sound levels and stuff to make sure everything's good. So just making some small talk. I'm RJ, by the way. It's
good to meet you. I've heard a lot of good things about you.
None of them are probably true, but
I like your look.
Yeah, I mean it is nice. You just have to embrace it at some point. So I just started it.
He had the brewer's stash.
Oh, I see.
I had to bring it up for Nick. Did you see it?
I think was your you had a brewer's shirt on too, and you had the stick. Yeah.
So I do it every single year for opening day. This is my 13th year, I think, doing it, and it's a lot of fun.
You gonna get started?
Okay. Oh my goodness. So pushy.
We can have this conversation.
All right. Are we ready? Here we go. Welcome to Untapped Keg. I'm RJ Zimmerman here with my good friend Monte Ball. How you doing, big guy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm doing well. I'm alive and well. I'm breathing. So I'm blessed, and I'm excited for the guest that we have today. But how are you doing, RJ?
I'm good, except for the fact you forgot your hashtag there. It's hashtag blessed. Get it right. We're excited to be joined by Mr. Chris Borland. Woo! How you doing? Thank you for joining us so early on this Sunday morning.
I'm doing great. I'm hashtag blessed on this Sunday morning.
I like it.
Yes. Chris, man, it's really
yeah.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say it's really good to have you, man. Obviously, for those who aren't too familiar with Chris Borland, from Dayton, Ohio. I was fortunate enough to play side by side with him at the University of Wisconsin. He played linebacker, I played running back, so we met every day in practice in the hole. And then Chris went on to play in the National Football League. Was a Pro Bowler his rookie year, balling out, and then decided to walk away from the game. And that's what we're going to get into today, man. But Chris, excited to have you, man. Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, I'm thrilled to be on. I love what you guys do. I was a Pro Bowl alternate, so I often leave that out too. But that last word, but yeah, it was a good ride. And
you're a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, just stop short of saying the alternate. But yeah, no, I'm thrilled to be on. We've been together for a decade. We came in to Wisconsin together, and like you said, you'd run by me in practice, and then I'd try to make up for it for hitting you in the hole. So we met thousands of times.
Yeah, man. I tend to think about it. I'm like, man, we really made each other better. Because let's be honest, you're the best linebacker in the Big Ten, arguably in NCAA, and I had to go up against that every single day, and so, and vice versa. You allowed for me to get better, to become a dominant running back, collegiate level, and I helped you to be a dominant running back. So it was just an awesome thing. But let's hop right into it, man. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get right to it, man. So can you share a little bit with us about your journey, man? Just your decision, what led to your decision to walk away from the game at such a high level. You were averaging about 12 to 14 tackles a game, which is ridiculous.
Well, that's maybe part of the decision. It was a lot went into it. I was concussed before the season started in camp, and was still at a point where I was, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was always a smaller guy and I felt like I had something to prove. So I didn't know if I'd make the team. And I was going to make the team, but I was fighting for a position. I was fighting for a starting spot, and I was concussed and played through it. And, you get a lot of time on your hands and more in the NFL than in the NCAA. And, started to wonder, I'd heard of these stories of former players that, downstream had tragic stories. And I just wondered what I was getting myself into. The narrative around those guys was that they had a lot of other things going on, steroid use or drug use or underlying mental illness. And I just wanted to basically find out, if I achieved my goals of playing for a decade, of trying to become a Hall of Famer, what would the actuary be for like my mental health outcomes, my brain damage? So I began to read some articles and then some scientific papers and a few books, and then it just kind of snowballed. And as the season went on, I was learning more, and then I began to reach out to the people that were doing the work. And what it caused me to do, I think initially I was skeptical. Like within that football bubble, it's not exactly rational. So my initial thoughts were, these people are trying to tear down the game, or they're trying to get funding, so they're just highlighting one aspect of the outcomes. The more I read, the more I learned. I kind of had to surrender to the reality. Part of that surrendering was being more honest with my history. Had a brain injury in 8th grade. I was knocked out in a soccer game for like 2 minutes. Bruising on my brain, went to the hospital. And then 2 years later, had a similar injury as a 10th grade football player. So in hindsight, and at 30 years old now, I probably should have stopped all contact sports after that injury in 10th grade. But went both ways. Went both ways. Went both ways at a small Catholic high school. Monte, you know how much I played at Wisconsin, special teams, defense. Never missed like 3 games other than the year I redshirted, and played for 5 years. And same with the Niners. Missed last 2 games of a 20-game season, including preseason. So a lot of blows to the brain, and I feel great. We can get in later to some things that guys can do to be healthy, but I feel great. And I think what I just expressed, I haven't really, when I'm interviewed typically about the decision, like the most salacious 1 minute makes the headline. And like my personal history was, had that not happened, my history, I would have played a little longer, I think. But that doesn't exactly, get clicks or sell papers or get people to watch if it's, young man makes reasoned personal choice isn't as sexy as most dangerous man in football.
And here's the thing, Borland. I really wanted you just to share that, obviously, just to give some backstories to those who may not know who you are. But I'm a believer in, that stuff doesn't define you. None of that, your brain injuries, none of that. I think what you're doing from the point of when you stop playing football to today and onward is, in my opinion, who Christopher Borland is. And that's most definitely what we're going to get into, man, because you're a pioneer, you're a trailblazer. You're literally forcing the issue of mental health care with our athletes, student athletes, within the professional world, corporate America, et cetera. And I'm really excited, man. I got one more question, and then I'm going to shut up and let RJ start talking. But after you obviously made your decision to walk away from the game of football, and again, you and I share the similar feelings with the game. You hopped into Search Inside Yourself Institute, right, as a certified teacher. We would love to hear a little bit more about that. Like, what does that entail, and what drove you to go in that direction?
Yeah, well, there was a couple of preceding steps. So I spent like a year doing advocacy after I retired. I didn't plan on it, but so much came my way where people were asking for help, and if I was in a position to do so. And so I spent a year, similar to you, Monte, like embracing my role and trying to use it in my platform to help other people. And one of those efforts was coming back to Wisconsin and meeting with Richie Davidson, who's a researcher in town that is world-renowned neuroscientist studying the benefits of meditation. I'd dabbled in it a little bit right after I quit. My brother-in-law sent me Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and I read it and loved the philosophy and tried to do the practice, which is a little, it's Zen, which is very strict. So I, like, looking back, I'm surprised I stuck with it, but I recognized something in it that was beneficial, that helped me find calm in the storm of, public criticism and, lots of obligations and like a stressful few months there immediately after I quit. So I met with Richie and I just proposed the idea of doing something for football players, and he was game. So we, it started a little slow, but within 2 years, we ran a first of its kind pilot program. And so part of, those 2 years were me just getting further and further into meditation and mindfulness. So Richie's on the board at Search Inside Yourself, which is a nonprofit. It started at Google, it then was taken out. And it's all about thriving and personal well-being within your professional context. So the teacher certification program is like a year-long training. And once you're trained, you can go into environments and share the program. And I've done it now for 4 years and love it. And I do it. I think I'll always do it on the side for all my life. It's really about positive psychology, mindfulness, emotional intelligence. But what's great is that it's how well it's integrated. So some of those concepts can be ephemeral, hard to put into practice. And Monte, you've been through the program, so we bring in things that you're working on in your professional and or personal life and map these practices to it immediately, and then follow up for 4 weeks afterwards, because that's how behavioral change science suggests these things stick. and have had a lot of success. I've done it in the private sector with nonprofits and education and in athletics, and just love the program. We've got, it's picking up now. I think at the tail end of the pandemic, a lot of people could use it. So
right.
my colleague James and I have got like a dozen programs lined up this year.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, RJ, I'll let you go, man. I just shot away for like 10 minutes at him.
No problem. To say your story is interesting, I think is an understatement, but you're talking about how, the inside the football circles, things aren't really, have you met a group of men? Because let me tell you, toxic masculinity, we aren't really around reality very often. So we're big, tough guys. We can do it all. But so emotional intelligence, we've talked about that a lot on the show. And when I was looking at your profile about gosh darn it, now I just lost the name of the program.
Search Inside Yourself.
Search Inside Yourself. They talked about
it's not a good name. I'll admit that.
I had it too. I did research. And so the emotional intelligence, how did you find that to be? Because for me and Mons, part of why we went to alcohol was to shut off our emotions. And now we've had to come to terms kind of with our emotions and kind of build ourselves up. I always tell my partner that I'm like a 12-year-old when it comes to emotional intelligence, because I just never had to work on it. I mean, growing up as boys, you're taught to be stoic, but how did you find it in that? Because that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, I can. It definitely resonates with me. I didn't grow up in a family. Irish Catholics aren't known for being talking openly about their emotions. And similar with sports, I can even think back. My older brothers were all athletes, and their advice to me is never let your opponent see you weak. Never put your hands on your knees. Never. Some of that's maybe appropriate in sports, but outside the lines, I think I was an empathic kid. I think I was a sensitive kid and had a hard time jiving. I have to be this archetype, and then I get cut off a piece of myself to fit into that role. And I think it is inextricable to toxic masculinity. There's so many guys that are high achieving in sports and in the business and other things that emotionally are kind of like children. And it's so often been presented as if emotions are superfluous, take care of your business, get things done, and you can deal with that later. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think they're integral to your productivity, first of all, to your well-being. Mm-hmm. It's if you're in touch with your emotions, if you're aware of how you're feeling or how you're interacting or engaging in anything you do, that makes it more sustainable, because you have a keener sense of it's better data. This is exactly precisely how I feel when I do this, and this is maybe why. And that awareness is so valuable, because I'm with you guys. I haven't dealt with alcoholism, but I've certainly have in the past had behavior where I was totally just doing something to not feel or to avoid. And it can be hard to turn to your emotions, but search inside yourself. These practices help do it in a subtle way where you can practice it. And the key, and what really enlightening when I met with Richie and when I began to get involved more in meditation, was that these skills were all trainable. I, growing up and as a young man, thought some people are naturally kind, some people are dicks. It's just how life is.
Right.
You can work on being a good, nice person, which is an amazing thing that I think we've taken for granted. And last quarter century of positive psychology has shown us you can be more kinder, more empathic, more resilient, and you can work on that like you work on a golf swing. And it doesn't take a ton, 10 to 15 minutes a day of these practices. And and then doing them in the real world when you check out at the grocery store or when you go home to your wife, it really builds. So it was a huge epiphany to me, and then it's fun to get to do it professionally. To see the same light bulb go off when we teach programs is a lot of fun.
And great segue, great segue, Chris, because you touched on it right there, and I kind of wanted for us to jump into it. That program and you had like a 2-day program. Remember at the ranch?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful spot,
man. And so to those listening in, so Chris put together this 2-day, pretty much mental health, meditation, active listening program out on this ranch here in Wisconsin. And I was one of maybe 9 others who were part of it. And I will be the first to say that was honestly one of the, and I'm not just saying this, man, I'm not just blowing smoke up you, but I was honestly one of the most like peaceful moments that I've like ever had, because you made it a point for us to focus on certain things that, you just go about your daily life. You don't really pay attention to stuff like that, like active listening, like listen to what someone's saying instead of just being ready to respond. Just little practices like that. And I kind of really want you to touch on that stuff, man. That program was wonderful, and taught a lot about myself in 48 hours.
Well, it's pretty intense. You do a lot in those 2 days. So the program's organized in a very simple way. The formula that Search Inside Yourself uses is, we're going to teach the emotional intelligence competencies using mindfulness, and that is going to help with your EQ. So, and a lot of science is baked in. There's been an explosion in neuroscience of meditation and its benefits over the last 10 years. So, and maybe 20 years. So that can be a hook for people, because I think without the science, some people can be like, it's like this woo-woo stuff that is strange. But Richie is a pioneer here in Madison, and lots of scientists now have scans of how the brain's different when you do these practices regularly. So it is physiological. It's not just your psyche. But that's an aside. What's really important, I think, and what's special about Search Inside Yourself is doing it in the environment that we do it, and with people that you interact with a lot, or people that you get to know over the 2 days, and you really go through it as a group. And emotional intelligence is great. Mindfulness is kind of your way to get into it. But I often think about how it's changed during the pandemic, and it's not the same on a Skype call. It's good, but to be there as a group, I think is vital. And the quickest way to kill a wolf is just cut it off from the pack. And I think we have an irony of our times is we're more interconnected than ever with social media and phones and texting, and at the same time more isolated. So I think the group component is so important, and the content is lovely. If people want to check it out, it's at SIYLI.org. Silly. Again, a terrible
we'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the chat.
So yeah, the program is cool and you can check it out. But I really think that, and we know this as athletes, that team component, when you're all on the same page and working toward the same goal and care about one another, that is like, it's hard to pin down and study. But I think for mental health, being a part of a tribe is just, it's huge.
Absolutely, man. And it seems like that's what, you, Richie Davis, and that's what your guys' sort of mantra has been, is get people together. Let's learn and grow together. And that's literally the foundation of our podcast. The foundation of everything that RJ and I do is learning and growing together. And so it's really, really awesome, man, to have you on here. And again, when I wanted you to share that, because I learned so much about myself in literally 48 hours. And it wasn't even really 48 hours. It was like, 8 hours a day, I think it was, for 2 days.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend for people to check that out. I really, really do. Get a couple of your friends, family together and do that. It's a wonderful study and practice.
Yeah, and there's if people are listening and are in Madison, a couple weeks ago, I had a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce about hopefully doing the program for free for Madison area small businesses. So that's to hopefully come this summer. But we'll see how it shakes out. But there'd be a chance if you're interested. Just I'll tweet about it or something if it works out. But hopefully this summer. We'll get Google to underwrite it or somebody else to take care of the bill and do it regularly for anyone that wants at the end of the pandemic to do these practices.
Oh, well, count me in.
That's going to be really useful too, because like you said, this is the most stressful time that like we have lived through. I mean, that's something that we've talked about is for people who just started their sober journeys, like right now, like so much power to you because the stress that has come with this year, you know, loss of jobs, loss of everything, what we took for granted in normal life has just been upended. And how's it going to change? We still don't know because it's not going to go back to completely normal. But you're talking about before about meditation and how that's helping you. Is that something that you start your day with? How often do you meditate yourself? And then, you know, does it bring you like an inner calmness, or does it allow your mind to kind of wipe out the stuff that doesn't matter as much, like those nagging? I guess I'm interested in this.
Yeah, I think there's some misconception around like erasing your thoughts or clearing your mind.
Right.
You're always going to have shit going on. So, but meditation kind of just helps those flakes in the snow globe settle a little bit because life really shakes it. So I try to do meditation 3 times a day, and my general format is like once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once before bed. Sometimes long, sometimes 4 minutes. But I just want to. There's a really interesting book that Richie wrote called Altered States, and or Altered Traits. I'm sorry. It's a play on altered states. So meditation changes your state of mind. His whole theory is over a long time, it actually changes your traits. But I remember reading in there that there's some study in Europe done where if you meditate for like 15 minutes, your state is changed for about 4 hours. And so me being a little bit like anal former football player, I thought, well, like, I'll just meditate for 15 minutes once every 4 hours and always be in that state. Not exactly how it works, but I do think there's checking in with yourself when you get up, see how you're doing emotionally. Yeah. I can overdrink coffee. So replacing an afternoon coffee with a 10-minute, breathing exercise. And then sleep's a huge one. And I think there's a lot of practices that benefit you're getting a good night's rest. So there's a whole field of yoga called yoga nidra, which is like a term for sleep. So it's a yoga sleep. And you do these like deep relaxation practices. I usually am out before I'm halfway through. So I'd say to answer your question, 3 times a day for maybe anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes.
That's again, and I'm glad that you kind of brought it up about how some people are a little hesitant when it comes to meditating and thinking it's, this voodoo or what have you. So my question to you, man, is I know that, like I said, you and Richie Davison, you guys are pioneers, trailblazers. You guys are doing things that are against the norm. And so my question to you is, what is some of the pushback that you've been receiving, if you have been receiving any, with maybe organizations, obviously not naming them, but what's like some of the hurdles that you're facing when it comes to trying to make this more accessible and more of a social norm for corporate America and athletes?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Today, I don't think much. Nice. I think maybe 5 years ago there wasn't. It wasn't quite as well known. And so there was some apprehension. I remember recruiting guys to our program, and it was a clash of cultures because we got like middle-aged, tough, like white dudes, and I like have to talk to them about loving kindness meditation, and they like take off their camo hat and take out their dip and like, what are you? But
what are you talking about?
Throw out the homophobic slur of your choice there.
Yeah, but no, that I'm exaggerating a little bit for my point.
Of course,
but we all have the same experience. We just use different language, and so my job when I'm trying to bring together like football or military with mindfulness community is just to translate. So in the contemplative world, like loving kindness, all that means is teamwork and caring. And so like, that's all I had to say. And the guys got it. And today there's kind of a different challenge. So there's a lot of receptivity publicly and within organizations. Mindfulness can be a hard thing to vet. Anybody can say like they're a wellness coach. Well, what does that mean? And so I think being able to show results and credentials and rigor, and like specifically so it's like, we're going to help you in these ways, or this will be beneficial for these purposes, is important to do, because I think there's, and the joke is that it's like Mick mindfulness, like everybody's doing it now, or it's getting out into the world in ways that aren't that rigorous. And so our job, I think now, is to say like, Richie's one of the best researchers in the world in this. We've done some cutting edge work. Don't fall for the person that doesn't, that oversells their benefit, or that doesn't know, the oversell is concerning because these things are great, but it's not, like getting 3 to 5% better is amazing. That's like incredible. And if it compounds and you continue to do it and that compounds over time, it's like working out. Like it's not going to change your world, but if you're dedicated to it, it'll be really beneficial. Some people these days are really overselling the benefits. And if it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. So I think being grounded and humble and sharing how it does help you is better today than some folks that do the oversell.
It's nice, man. You're dropping some nuggets here. And then I talk to RJ a lot about it. My family, and when I bring you up, I'm like, man, you're really a different person, man, in a good way. Being around you in college and stuff, on the football field, of course, just because of your position, you radiated this animosity, because that's just the nature of the game, unfortunately. You in the linebacker position is even heightened. And so, but now being around you for the last 5 years, it's like you have this peacefulness with you, very, very calm. And me having high anxiety, being around you, I'm like, wait, why doesn't he have high anxiety like me? I'm like, so I just kind of wanted to just throw that out there. I know I'm doing too much talking here, RJ, so that's my bad, man.
Well,
love for you to chime in.
Talking about everybody has the same experience, just different, words or languages or everything else. That's the sign of a really good teacher, understanding that. So I work on high voltage power lines for a local utility company. And that's one thing that I tell like apprentices when they come through, like you can teach anybody, whatever you want. You just have to find the way for them to be able to understand it, to be able to put it in words that they can all of a sudden, react to it. So you putting the love and kindness, the teamwork and caring is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that would get through to a lot of guys. That's really awesome. So talking about the mindfulness, and you're talking about yoga and, meditation, a lot of Eastern philosophies. So we're going for our holistic approach, and then you work with a neurosurgeon, which would be more, your Western mind, body, and spirit, as far as trying to get that to one. Like when you train or are teaching these courses, do you start with that right away, or do you bring it together towards the end when people you can kind of see where it's going, and then all of a sudden you can connect all the dots?
That's a good question.
More of the latter. The only place where the mind and body are separated would be in a science textbook. There's no, your nervous system ends at your brain. There's no, in the West, we cut off the head and say, like, reduce everything to how your neurons fire, how your brain works. And it's all visceral. I mean, there's intelligence within your body. That would have sounded like a weird thing to say years ago, but we of course know it now, and we hold traumas in our body. There's a lot of psychosomatic suffering that people have. So they're one and the same. I would say with Search Inside Yourself, we don't get into the soul or the spirit or anything like that. I think people experience that. It is a program that was, created in Silicon Valley for tech companies. So like and I think this is okay. I mean, it gets some criticism for being like for productivity, but I think it's a yes and. I think you go through the program and it's a well-being program, and when you feel better, you do what you love probably more productively. So I think emotional intelligence is oftentimes physical as much as it is mental. I mean, you've got neurons in your gut, your body. There's an interesting study out of Iowa that we present in the program. I won't go into it, but basically participants, I have to go into it a little bit, I guess. They're playing a card game that's rigged, and they're hooked up to a polygraph test. And the researcher are asking them, like, are you noticing anything throughout the game? And they're just, no, they're playing it. And meanwhile, their palms are sweating. Your palms are the only area of your body that respond to stress by perspirating. Like they're the first ones to. And so when they're reaching for a certain deck, their palms are on fire, and still their brains like don't know what's going on. And they filmed it, and participants were starting to favor the deck that wasn't rigged. So their body was making decisions and experiencing something their mind didn't know yet. So we do a lot of practices that tap into the wisdom of the body. Emotions are first like physiological feelings in your body. We all know that feeling of like when you're anxious, you're jittery, you're tight, or you feel like someone's behind you sometimes, or if you're like you really experience emotions in the body. So a way to tap into that, to teach people that something called a body scan, where you just sit calmly and kind of check through, foot to head, like what's going on there. And it's weird because, people don't stop and do that. But when you do, you'll realize like, oh, there's a lot of action like in my back or in my chest, like I feel like tension in my chest. And that's, your body has those sensations all day, every day. And just stopping in to check and see how you're doing gives you a keener awareness of your emotional state. So head and body are one and the same. I've got a lot of personal feelings about soul and spirit. I think sometimes we're too science heavy and we think we can reduce and explain everything in the lab. There's a great Scottish physicist that became a philosopher, and he got a quote I love. He said, of all the things we've learned, of all the things we've done, we can say one thing for sure: something unknown is doing what we know not. Like basically, like there's an inexplicable part of the universe, and I think you can interject any word you want there: God or faith or the unknown or the universe. It's a hard thing to go into corporations and sell, but so we stick basically with emotional intelligence.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. RJ, go ahead, man. Now that was a good question. I'm like, you're firing off some good ones.
I'm laughing because, like, you know, it's a hard thing to sell corporations, but like the case study is Japan. Like, you know, they've had the mindfulness, the wellness, the physical fit kind of a thing down, and then everybody's for the greater good there. And they're 10 years ahead of us technology wise. Their productivity is off the charts. You know, their happiness and depression levels, I don't think they're as bad, but some of that might be just internalizing it too, because they don't want to be burdens, kind of like, you know, we don't want to be burdens, but they take it to another level. They don't want to be burdens on society, let alone family and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, this reminds me. So, my wife and I watched a show that we're trying to get Mons into on Netflix called Queer Eye.
Oh,
and let me tell you, that show is right up like this conversation's alley. Because,
I need to watch.
Yes, because they go into a lot of this too, where it's not just the science. It's about, you know, look good, feel good. You know, you radiate the positivity. That's one thing that we've wanted to create, was this positivity and everything. I commend you with, you know, the studies you've been doing, where you've been going, how you relate everything to everybody else. Like, this is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I appreciate it. And I think just a thought on your comment on Japan, and Mate's comment earlier about, you know, the football archetype versus the calmer person. Some of the fiercest warriors ever have had a deep contemplative practice, and Japan's a great example with the samurai. So it's not, and I think there's this, some of the apprehension or misconception about this is like, it's going to turn me into like a muddled, like soft, like wispy, like, and I think sometimes the opposite can be true. When you have a practice, like, you have clarity on who you are, and when you need to, you can step into these situations and like defend yourself, or just like have an opinion that is like just and righteous and stand your ground. Because I think, and in the past, I'd done some of this, is like, well, fuck it, I don't care.
Right.
But this is like kind of an organizing principle that helps you, like, toughness is not maybe the right word, but to know who you are and stand by your values.
Absolutely.
And so they're not, you know, toughness and sensitivity, I think, are go together. It's not like you have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, I really like that analogy that you used, the snow globe. I'd love for you to share that again, just in case if people missed it earlier in the show. It's such a powerful analogy, and I think it really touches on you, why you've made such a change, and how you are today.
Yeah, it's a good analogy for meditation. So life is like shaking a snow globe, and, you know, sitting down to practice meditation is like setting it on a flat surface. So those snowflakes represent your thoughts or your ruminations, anxieties, depressions, and they're still there when you practice, but they settle a little bit, or maybe a lot, and life's going to pick back up, and you're going to come back and sit again. And it's a simple thing, and it's a helpful visual for me when things are around me are moving 1,000,000 miles per hour. It reminds me to sit and take a break.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. So I really appreciate you sharing all that, man. I really, really do. Everybody who may just be tuning in, we're talking to Chris Borland. Just overall great human being, great friend of mine. And also somebody who's trying to help me lose weight. I need to lose weight. Mr. Borland.
I've plateaued a little bit. We gotta get with Joe Thomas and get him kick our asses in gear.
Yeah. So
dropper.
He always do that.
Well, just so you know, too, we have
there's names dropping.
We have a running joke on our podcast that Russell Wilson cost Mons a Heisman Trophy It's just like a little running joke we have. And then we also have that JJ Watt cost you guys a national championship. So anytime they want to come on and defend themselves from both, they're welcome to. But that's how we roll a little bit.
Right.
I like it. It's squarely their fault for those two.
Absolutely.
Just
no more context. Like we're talking about the clickbait. There we go.
So Borland, man, I love it. I love it. So again, man, I'm trying to lose some weight, man, and I really want you to. And you've been doing this keto, man, this keto diet, and again, obviously, you're working on your physical health, etc. I kind of want you to touch on, man, like what they go hand in hand, physical health with mental health. I know that you go biking now too and all that stuff, which RJ and I are going to go biking with you sometime. Yes, RJ, I just volunteered you.
I was going to say, what?
Well, yes.
When is this going to happen? What? I think there's a hurricane that week. I don't know if I'll make it.
Nice. But yeah, Borland, man, I really want you to chat, man, about the physical side of mental health, working on your body, eating right, etc.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the tail end of 2020 was rough for me. So basically 2 moves, lost a couple of, still struggling to keep alive a couple of these media projects that I'd worked over a year on and spent some money on and waiting to get paid for the others. So just a rough end of the year, and combine that with isolation and moves and things. And my first winter in 8 years, and it's true, like your blood thins. I was such a baby this winter in Wisconsin, but part of that was I gained some weight. So I was like up over 240, which I hadn't been since I played. And it was a very different constitution than it was when I was a player. It's not muscle. But I started working out with some random offensive lineman that I won't name, and
you can name them. Come on.
So he always gives me crap. Like I said, hey, I'm gonna reach out to Borland.
He says no. He goes. So when I played with Tom, as in Tom Brady, or when I was drafted, this guy Peyton in the locker room. So I always go name dropper.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from. We're just having some fun.
Yeah. I'll meet people that went to Harvard and they'll say like, I went to school on the East Coast, like in Boston, like Harvard. Like,
yeah,
just say it.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, please go ahead. Yeah.
No, but I really needed to start working out and eating healthier. My cousin owns a pig in a fur coat and Alimentari, and
great restaurant.
A good buddy. It's phenomenal. And a good buddy owns Gotham Bagels. So like first winter, stressful life, isolation. I was eating well. A bagel for breakfast, a deli sandwich for lunch, and like a decadent meal for dinner, 4 times a week. So I was fat. Which is fine.
Living the life. I mean,
I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it, but it was it definitely affected my mood. So I was, just randomly, Ben Strickland, who's, I hope it's not a name drop, but he did play and coach at Wisconsin. Ben, I knew I was back in town, and he invited me to work out 3 times a week with this group, and I joined and was like ashamed at how pitiful I'd become. I had that athlete judgment of like, I can't believe you are this both out of shape and weak somehow. Because I hadn't literally lifted in a while. So I overcame that, and I've stuck with the group now for 6 months, and I feel great. I've lost 40 pounds and I'm stronger, probably as close to as strong as I was at Wisconsin. And part of that has been this, Joe's the biggest proponent of the keto diet, which I've tried and had amazing results for the first month. Lost a ton of weight, felt really great mental clarity, lots of consistent energy throughout the day. I've plateaued a little bit, it's a strict diet, and between Easter and my friends who are chefs in town, like, and I hosted someone who's taken their daughter on a college visit recently. It's been hard to like stick with. So I need to get back into being a little bit more rigorous with it. Started to put back on some weight, but it's an interesting diet. It's you burn fat as your fuel source rather than glycogen or basically sugar. So like those, you get fat adapted. And a lot of people have had a ton of success with it. I loved it to start. We'll see how sustainable it is. I might do it, take a break and do it again. One of the rules I feel like if you're into mindfulness and the people that are into keto, like one of the rules is you talk about it all the time. So I try not to like be that annoying person. It's like, have you meditated or have you heard about keto? But if I'm asked, I'm happy to
Let me tell you about our Lord and Savior, the pork chop.
Well, like, Joe and I can have like 15-minute conversations about like steak and vegetables. Like it's
Nice.
It's not that interesting.
But he lost a lot though. We're talking Joe Thomas, who was, what was his playing weight? What, 300?
I think he was like 315, 320 at times in Cleveland, and
He's got abs now.
He's got abs. That's all you gotta say. Like he's like 250. That was part of like my motivation. I looked across the weight room and like, this guy's, we weigh the same amount and he's 7 inches taller than me. So I should probably stick with it.
I remember the first time I saw him on TV after he retired, and I'm like, who is that guy? That is not the offensive lineman. I don't know who this Joe Thomas is, but he did not go to Wisconsin.
Out there looking like a tight end. I was like, what? And it's funny you bring that up, Borland, because he inspired you to do it. And when you sent me photos of just your before and after of just how much
that's
you
all
lost.
He's talked about for a month, Chris. That's all
I'm like, I showed my entire family. I'm like, you guys look. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, that's enough. There's so many success stories. And then I have somebody this close who has done it and lost a significant amount of weight in what, a matter of 8 weeks. I'm like, okay, it's time. But I need to hop back on. I lost 15, but I kind of slipped.
Yeah, you and I'm getting back into it after a bad Easter and then this past weekend. So you and I can do it together.
Let's go biking, man. I'm gonna drag RJ along, and I may pass out, but
as long as you can get my 2 kids to start biking too, so they sleep, I'll do it. But otherwise, I got 2 little kids to chase around, and Mons, how much they run around.
I do.
Need 3
yes.
days and 1 overnight. You need 3 days to recover.
Right. Borland, man. Honestly, man, we're about 8-9 minutes away from ending, man. But I want to obviously give you the floor, man. If there's anything that you want to chat about, obviously Pig in a Fur Coat, a wonderful restaurant, you guys, on Willie Street in Wisconsin and Madison, to be exact. Awesome place, great food. I'd love for you, Borland. Is there anything that you want to bring up, man? We kind of ran through our questions already, so floor is yours, man.
Yeah, there's I've got a few things cooking, but that are a little off in the distance. So I'll be doing another podcast, likely, but that's going to be, we're basically at square zero. But okay. The idea is there, and we've got some people from NPR. I want to do it really simple. I just want to talk to great writers that wrote really good sports books, and we're just going to. I'm friends with some of these people and I've read a lot of these books, and it's just no production, it's just going to be like Charlie Rose style, sit down at a desk and talk about basically an issue through the lens of sports. So, race, gender, a number of things just through a sports book. And I can just say, I've got nothing to sell, or you should definitely go to my cousin's restaurant, but I do think that's a value in sport is it's like if you took a soil sample, it's a cross section of everything. And it's like you dig down, and because sports are a meritocracy, it's so interesting, what stories are discovered. And there's so many phenomenal books about base culture through the lens of sports. And I think that's a huge value, other than just the entertainment and the fun. It surfaces issues that usually sports are ahead of society. Like Jackie Robinson plays for the Dodgers before Brown versus the Board of Education,
right.
Cap kneels before BLM becomes what it is societally. Kurt Flood is a former Cardinals player that fought for athletes' rights before.
Mons has no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
But I do.
You should listen to our sports
free
podcast.
agency exists because of Kurt Flood. Mons. That's basically.
He always gives me crap on our sports one because he starts throwing out baseball names, and I'm like,
it's
totally.
Baseball especially is like the nerdiest sport too. Like you talk to like an old timer that loves baseball.
You want to talk about exit velocities? I got it. And barrel rates.
I got. So I'm gonna that's something I'm interested in, and it's likely going to happen, and I'm excited about it. It's funny, we've got all NL Central fans here, Brewers with you, RJ, right. Cardinals, and I'm Cincinnati Reds fans.
And the Reds are the hottest team right now.
That's why I brought it up. I've got to brag because my window will close shortly and
with that lineup, I don't know. That lineup last year was awesome. So it's just finally coming to fruition this year. I mean, been waiting for Castellanos to take advantage of that launch pad that is the Cincinnati home ballpark. So
great American. Yeah. So if we do another podcast months down the road, I'll be a little bit maybe more dejected after they have their inevitable Reds. But
that used to be the Brewers until it wasn't anymore. So you never know.
Yeah, it's I'll keep my hopes up even if it's naive.
That's okay. That's what sports can do for you. So, before we got into like our interviewing and everything, we were talking about you. So I would like to bring those questions up again. So you moved from LA to Dayton to Madison during the pandemic. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So 2019 was a crazy year. In Dayton specifically, 15 tornadoes tore through town. There was a KKK rally that they feared would be the next Charlottesville. So Dayton is a poorer city and spends a lot of money to prevent that from happening. And it wound up just being a dozen or so yokels from Indiana coming over and embarrassing themselves. And then just 6 weeks later, on August 4th, there was a mass shooting, and the one stretch of downtown that's like the cultural, the bars and restaurants and things. And so like in 7 weeks, they had those three things happen. So I went back and we put on a festival, like a peace festival, where we had speakers and we did Search Inside Yourself, and we did yoga, and then we had like a cookout basically. And connected with a lot of activists in town around work they were doing, and invited my friend, who's a documentarian, to just capture it all. And it turned into a film project. So we had just these amazing people on the ground doing incredible work, putting a grocery store in a food desert. This like 35-year-old incredible pastor at a Baptist church who's taken over the congregation in a hellacious year. The mayor has done an awesome job. The police chief has a graduate degree in contemplative studies, and he teaches incoming officers yoga and meditation. So like this incredible cast of characters doing awesome work on the ground. And so we're going to make a documentary of it. The idea was to have it out ahead of the election. But because of COVID and because of some other circumstances, that wasn't possible. So I'd moved back to Dayton in the fall of 2019. I thought it'd be temporary. And I did go back to LA like right after New Year's. And then when the pandemic hit and we're still working on the film, I couldn't afford to get stuck in California.
Right.
So I moved back, and I had a friend I could rent a house from in Dayton. And then we temporarily lost the project. We're going to salvage it, probably be a short film, but I was in Dayton alone in a pandemic, which is when it's kind of the weight started to happen. And I realized like it was a good time for reflection and thought, do I need to go back to LA? I've always thought like I want to settle in Madison at some point, and maybe that time's now. So I made that decision and moved out of LA for good, like before the summer, which meant like selling off my few things and then just coming up to Madison in the fall.
That's awesome, man. Let's definitely commend you, man, for one, just for sharing, just from the heart, your honesty, sharing some personal things, and it's an honor, man. It honestly is. I'm still growing and learning and trying to get to the point to where you're at with emotional intelligence. Obviously my story's public. I struggled with it heavily. But RJ and I are trying our best to spread this positivity and to enlighten folks about why we should not cut our emotions off. So I appreciate you sharing this stuff, man. Really, really do.
I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for everything you've done. Being vulnerable publicly is a really hard thing to do, but it's incredibly valuable for others. And I just commend you and admire everything that you've done. And RJ, we've just met, but I can tell that you've done the work too. So you guys have a great thing cooking here, and I'm really happy you're doing it.
Oh man, I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't for this guy right here, RJ. Obviously, his wife, my sister, family, and they know it too. I would not be well right now if it wasn't for them. So
I'm trying to be better about accepting compliments, but like my personality makes it really hard. But thank you. I appreciate the kind words from both of you. And yeah, Monty, you've done the work for yourself. Otherwise you wouldn't have made it this long. And Chris, like, dude, you're doing a lot of hard work. And, I'm glad that you're willing to talk about it too, because there's messiness involved in everything. And talking about the messiness, it's not all above the mud. Some of it you have to get into the mud to get to, the betterment of everything. And it's awesome. It's fantastic. Glad you're in the Madison area. We're
gonna get together for
really
sure.
Cool. And the bike trails are amazing around here, so I'm sure that's why you picked up biking. But
we're gonna get together. I was supposed to go biking with you last week, but
went to the zoo, right?
Yeah. We went. We took the boys to the Milwaukee Zoo. Yeah.
Nice. Well, there'll be plenty of time to get out, and the weather should change shortly, so be fun.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing else, RJ. How about yourself?
We really appreciate you hopping on with us, Chris. We hope that, it was just kind of a relaxing conversation and you had a good time. And we really appreciate it. We'd really love to have you on again. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Really.
Thank you, man. I'm down whenever. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, sir. Well, we really appreciate it. We're getting great feedback from people who are listening right now. So thank you, Chris. And we'll let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. All right, man?
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, man. All right.
Take care.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
RJ, you can just keep it going. So for us to end this, you can just keep it going.
Yep.
That was awesome, man. That was awesome.
What a really nice human being. The fact that, just talking, like, his knowledge is so wide ranging as well. Like, he doesn't just focus. And I just want to say though, like, on the record, while we're recording, Monts, your lighting today is on point.
Is it good? Because I was trying to,
like, this is the best lighting that you've had in months. Like,
I was trying to fix it. You see me fixing it mid-show? I'm like,
no, I did not, because I was enthralled with what Chris was talking about. So
nice. I told you, man. I appreciate it, by the way. But he's a cool cat, man. I aspire to get to that level of emotional intelligence. And when we say this, you guys, what we're talking about, and again, he shared it so well, where it's you wake up and you're feeling a certain way. Well, 90%, probably even 99% of the time, what we do is we don't even feel that emotion. We just go about our day.
Under the rug. You can feel something's off, but you don't know what it is.
Yep. Then 4 p.m., 5 p.m., you're a little snappy towards your partner, to maybe your kids accidentally, or or what have you. So this emotional intelligence that we're talking about is when you wake up, or even around lunchtime when you're feeling a certain way, dissect that, dive into that emotion, figure it out, like what's going on. Think back to what you did yesterday or the last week, or is there a project coming up that you're nervous about, so anxious for? That's just a slither of emotional intelligence. Obviously, that's just scratching the surface.
Did you say slither?
I did.
Sliver?
Oh, I said slither. I think
I'm sorry, but it was just too funny.
No. I love it. Why is Slither pop in my head? Is that a movie? I think it's a movie on Prime Video.
It is, yeah.
I think I might have scrolled by it recently, but a sliver of emotional intelligence.
You know, sometimes it's dreams that I have, like you know, being sober, having dreams of falling off the wagon, you know, relapse, and you wake up with that feeling inside of you that's guilt. It's a little bit of guilt. It's a little bit of shame. You don't know what it is. And I have to think back, oh yeah, I dreamt this. Or like, you know, things that involve my kids, dreaming about things. I have really vivid dreams. I've always had vivid dreams. So they do affect my emotions. And if I don't think about it in the morning, sometimes it can carry into the afternoon and I don't know why.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, I mean, we're all not perfect. I mean, man, I wish I would have understood the importance and the value of emotional intelligence throughout college. And that's why it's so awesome to see what Chris Borland's doing. And I call him a trailblazer, man, because I mean, this guy, man, went and spoke to the CEO of the Rockies and did something there with them. Obviously the University of Wisconsin as well. They actually have a program for student athletes, the meditation and mindfulness program. And it would not have come about if it was not for Chris Borland. And that's just scratching the surface. This man is doing stuff in his hometown of Dayton, Ohio, doing things with the Players Tribune in LA. He's top notch, and it's an honor to have him on.
Yeah, you know, he insinuated it, and I'm like, yes, that means he'll come back. So we'll have him on again. So far, we've had really good track record of guests enjoying themselves. So hopefully we can have some recurrences.
Yeah. We're just getting started, man. We're just getting started.
Yep. We'll have to make sure that when the Brewers take over first place, we'll have them on to talk about it.
You guys crushed us yesterday.
We did? I didn't see.
9-5. You guys crushed
us. Oh, really?
But man, this was awesome.
Did we get high score? What does that mean?
This was awesome. Again, man, I get a little too excited, and if I was talking over you and stuff, I apologize.
Every single time you say this, you were perfectly fine. So
I like chatting with Borland. He's like you said, he's a cool cat, and he's learning. He's the example of what we talk about here.
What we aspire to be. For sure. Always learning, always bringing the positivity, and always willing to listen to people from different backgrounds, different experiences, because like he said, we all have the same experience. It's just in a different language. It's using different words. That's like,
powerful.
That really resonated with me. And that's the word that I was looking for that I couldn't think of when I was explaining that. Was the best teachers find ways to get things to resonate with you. It's a matter of finding those connections. You gotta
find that language.
Yep. And you know, just talking from my work, everybody has different words for everything. So like my dad also does the same work I do. And we'll be talking on the phone and we'll be talking about the exact same type of work. We'll be using completely different words and we'll have no idea what the other one's talking about till we like break it down to basics. And it's like, oh yeah, we call that this here. And he's like, oh no, it's called this. Why would you call it that? Yeah. So that's just, you know, an example of getting through those language barriers that we all have culturally. Like it doesn't matter. You could be the same culture and just families have different languages and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
Gosh, what an incredible young man.
Told you, man. Yeah, we'll hang out with you, man. Or we'll hang out with you. I'll bring you around. What's
up, Boomstick?
his guys. But a lot of the stuff that he likes to do, like you said, bike around, or not around the lake, but on the side of the lake. He does a lot of stuff outside, and I need to be more active outside. There's always room for improvement. So yeah, man. One of these times, I'll give you a notice in advance, but we can make it happen, man.
And I can be the name dropper.
Then you can be the name dropper. A guy who was on Netflix.
So yeah, Lion drops Garcia for yesterday. So
okay.
We appreciate it, Boomstick. Thanks for stopping in. We appreciate the follow as well. And thanks for stopping by. Obviously, Carrie, we love to see you here. We love to read your stories, what you put in.
Yes.
Thank you for your interactions, Lion. Follow Lion at Heart 219 on Twitch, because he's a really, really good watch on Twitch, and just nothing but positivity. Hail Mary, we appreciate you talking about the Borland and his advice, and thank you for the kind words about the work we're doing, and really, just trying to grow positive space, learning about everything, emotions, triggers, kind of everything around it. And like I said, sometimes you got to get in the mud for it too. You got to talk about the messy stuff, because if you don't talk about it, people think that it's all rainbows and unicorns, and that's just not the case. Even being a parent, when you talk about being a parent, I think that our generation is finally starting to talk about it more. I think the previous generation talked about it a little bit more than that. But for the most part, people talk about the good, the sunny stuff. It's a lot of mess. And we're not just talking about poopy diapers and spit up. We're talking about every day. Just like all your energy goes to these little kids that don't understand anything.
Just reckless. Little Tasmanian
jumping into a pool where they can't touch the ground. Like, I mean, luckily they had their life jackets on, so I could reach over and grab them by their life jacket. Like, where are you going? So
that's life. It's a beautiful process.
Trying to plug in things into outlets. What? I work with electricity. No, don't do that. No.
Right. But that was awesome, man. And again,
fantastic conversation.
We'll be having some more guests, you guys, on former players that I've played with, to players who I haven't played with, to doctors, to mental health advocates, community organizers. I can never say that word. Etc. We're going to bring them on, and we're going to have this conversation, and hopefully Chris Borland's words resonated with those listening, and take a piece of what he said today and try to apply it to your daily life.
You can search the institute that Chris works for. Search Inside Yourself. If you search for Search Inside Yourself Institute, it's the first thing that pops up. If you search Chris Borland Institute, it is like the second or third thing that pops up. Boomstick, thank you very much for the kind words.
Thank you, Boomstick.
Read the article about Chris and Monte's involvement in meditation and mindfulness, and how it's introduced to the Badgers program. At Chris Borland _, is his Twitter handle. Follow him, hit him up, send him some nice words. Let everybody, let's have a good week.
Yep.
Let's try to be better tomorrow than we were today. At least if we don't make it, we tried. That's all we can do. And everybody have a good week. Thank you.
Real quick, RJ.
Yeah.
Boomstick just put something in the comment. So to just our audio listeners, Boomstick put on there, on a football note, was at the game where Monte broke the touchdown record. We'll never forget that. Appreciate you saying that, Boomstick. Memories for sure. And again, we're very grateful that you hopped in. Same for you, Carrie, and Lion, everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Find us at Untapped Keg everywhere. Have a good day.